Hello everyone. Today we group C4 going to present about non-revenue water issue in Colombo city. Before proceed, let me go through the presentation overview. First, we will be begin at background of the organization and problem identification. Then context of the problem, significance of the problem, summary of literature review, study framework and conclusion, and finally references. Let me start with the background of the organization, National Water Supply and Drainage Board. NWSDB is the principal agency responsible for providing pipe-borne drinking water to the public, commercial organizations, and industries. Currently, it has covered 43% of the population island-wide through approximately 2.2 million service connections. It has operating in 348 water supply schemes island-wide with varying capacities in the range of 500 cubic meters per day to 550,000 cubic meters per day. The nationwide non-revenue water is a major issue which indicates that NWSDB is losing approximately 460,000 cubic meters of water daily without any revenue after incurring the production cost. It is sad to say that NWSDB is one of the largest loss-making state-owned enterprise in Sri Lanka. Next, let's move to problem identification, increase in non-revenue water in Colombo city. As you can see from the table, in 2018, 104 million cubic meters were supplied, but only 63 million of them were billed, remaining 39% being unbilled. In 2019, 106 million cubic meters were supplied, but only 63 million of them were billed, remaining 40% being unbilled. In 2020, even the supply has increased to 108 million cubic meters. Only 63 million of them were billed, remaining 41% being unbilled. As we can see, there's an increasing trend in non-revenue water in Colombo city. From the revenue perspective, we can see a decreasing trend from revenue. In 2018, the revenue was 4,190 million, but in 2019, it has decreased to 4,157 million. In 2020, again, it has further decreased to 4,057 million. So next, I would like to invite Chamira to explain about context of the problem.
Thank you, Dulit. Let us now look at the context of the problem. As Dulit explained, the non-revenue water amounts to 40% of the total supplied water, and the increasing trend of this is alarming. We developed this fishbone diagram to explain the causes of the non-revenue water problem. Under materials, we all know that water is supplied through underground pipelines, and the Colombo city pipelines were developed in the British era. Therefore, the pipes are very old and gets damaged frequently. When it comes to machines, most water meters are outdated and therefore the readings of these meters are not accurate. This directly links to the increase of non-revenue water. The other cause is driven by the lack of information technology in managing operations. This limits the water board's ability to quickly identify any leakages or any unauthorized usages. Under method, we found key process related issues. The once a month meter reading reduces the ability to identify any malfunctioning water meters. For an example, if the reading is taken in an early week of the month and soon after that the water meter stops working, the remainder of the month's usage gets unbilled. Another process issue is the manual water reading. Unlike other developed countries, Sri Lanka has a manual water meter where a person has to visit every household to record the meter reading. Due to this issue, some households will get a monthly average bill rather than an accurate water bill. The third process issue is the non-availability of zones in the Colombo city area. Because of this reason, a large area of the Colombo is supplied through a one big zone rather than smaller zones. This makes it very difficult to track down underground leakages or any unauthorized water usages. Under man, we identified key HR related issues where meter readers making errors when reading meters. This occurs when reading is taken in a manual basis by visiting the household. The second human resource related issue is that some meter readers accept bribes to record a lower bill for the customers to avoid getting a higher slab tariff. This directly links to the non-revenue water problem. I hope you got a good understanding of the non-revenue water problem context and the main causes of this problem. Now I would like to invite Richie to take us through the significance of the problem.
Thank you, Chamira. Now let's have a look at the significance of the problem. Let's get to the crux of the problem to find out what may be really causing the non-revenue water in Colombo metropolitan city. Non-revenue water is a good indicator to measure water utility performance. The statistics done, or rather carried out, shows the fact that Singapore and Tokyo, which are leading Asian cities, tend to really have it under control less than 10%. And Singapore really recording a 5%, which is very noteworthy. Having carried out some financial analysis, it is quite apparent that the production cost of excess water is exceeding 1.34 billion rupees to the National Water Board. And in revenue terms, it's exceeding 1.65 billion rupees, which is quite a significant blow on an annual basis to the water board. What does this do to the stakeholders? What does it do to the customers? The customers tend to spend a lot of time, which is also creating a huge economic turmoil in terms of collection of water in various parts of Colombo city. And one would also argue that it actually poses health risks in terms of contamination that really happens through pipelines. What does it really do to the water board? It actually shrinks the water board's repayment capacity as it continuously keeps draining this non-revenue water in the form of the revenue loss that we identified in the previous slide. In terms of government, there is a huge strain on the government's treasury board in terms of how the water board actually repays some of its loan commitments. And the intermittent supply obviously also hinders or rather tarnishes the government's public welfare front. What does it really do to the environment or the sustainability front? As there is huge, humongous loads of energy that is actually loaded into the pipelines in terms of distribution of this water, on an annual basis, financial records do indicate there is a huge strain, or rather it actually hinders the sustainability initiatives done by the government, where there is loss of water and loss of energy. Next up, Muru will take us through the literature review.
Thank you, Richardson. So now we'll look at what literature suggests about the non-revenue water issue. So non-revenue water is the difference between the volume of water supplied in water distribution system and the volume of water billed to the water consumer. So this rate is around 35% in Malaysia and 15% in Philippines, whereas in Sri Lanka, this is relatively high compared to other Asian countries. So there are two types of losses which causes the non-revenue water issue. So one is apparent loss and the other one is real loss. Apparent loss is incurred through unauthorized consumption and meter inaccuracies, whereas real loss is incurred through leakages. And when it's come to the type of these non-revenue water in developing countries and developed countries, in developing countries, the apparent loss is seen significantly, whereas in developed countries, real loss is seen. And similarly, in Sri Lanka, the statistics shows that the apparent loss is higher compared to the real loss. And the literature suggests different recommendations in order to reduce the non-revenue water issue. So through the literature review which we did, we identified three main solutions. One is technical solutions, the second one is HR solution, and the third one is public participation. So technical solutions are pipe replacement, meter replacement, and then GIS-based asset recording of pipelines, then pressure management. Whereas HR solutions are awareness seminars for senior staff and decision makers, then attitude changes of the employees, then again training workshops for engineers and technical staff, and finally continuous practical training for operations staff. And also, it is essential to have public participation for this in order to address this issue. So, in a research done in Malaysia, it was found out that 84.4% have not saved the phone number of the mobile utilities. So, if they see a pipe burst or a leakage, they do not know whom to inform that. And the key factors which affects a water loss from an individual leak or a burst depends on awareness time, location time, repair time, and the flow rate. So sooner the people become aware about this issue, sooner the issue can be rectified also. So these are the solutions which we identified through the literature review. And then next, Sri Karan will be discussing about the study framework by using the information extracted from the literature review.
Thank you, Muru. Now I'll take you all through the study framework. We have identified the problem exists in Colombo water supply operation of National Water Supply and Drainage Board, which is high NRW. And we have conducted the literature review related to NRW and how it can be overcome. And we have identified three major areas NWSDB shall focus to reduce the NRW. Number one is high-tech usage. NWSDB may automate the reading through installation of SIM-enabled or NB-IoT-enabled meters to get the readings to their data center automatically without the meter readers involvement. Second, usage of GIS, Global Information System, to record the pipe network, which will enable them to quickly locate the pipes during the leakage detection and pipes for replacement. Third, NWSDB shall create subzones within Colombo, so it will enable them to isolate the problems without affecting the larger customer segment for investigations. Moving on to the HR practices, human resource practices, NWSDB shall improve its recruitment and selection process to attract the good employees towards the organization, and it shall improve the training and development of existing employees to improve their knowledge and skill levels. Third, and it may work on changing the attitude of the existing employees to avoid the malpractices happening. Moving on to the public participation, NWSDB has to receive the water leak information or the illegal connection or unauthorized consumption, water consumption details through the public. And for that, it has to improve the bridge between the customer and National Water Supply and Drainage Board using the IT and going closer to the customers. The research has shown about 80% of the people are not aware how to report leaks and how to report the pipe burst, etc. The improvement of this will enable them to reduce the both physical loss and apparent losses that results the NRW. Moving on to the summary. We have presented the problem existing Colombo City operation of National Water Supply and Drainage Board, where the NRW percentage is higher when compared to other regions around the globe. And because of high NRW, NWSDB is losing about 1.6 billion per annum, which reduces its financial capability in repaying the loan, and it forces NWSDB to revise tariffs to meet the increasing expenditure. Increasing NRW is not only the issue for Water Board, and it's affecting the multi-stakeholders, including customers, government, and environmentalists. Thereafter, we carried out the literature survey related to NRW, and we have developed the study framework to be adopted by NWSDB to resolve the issues. and where we have identified 3 areas. First, usage of information technology. Second, HR practices. And third is the public participation. With that, we are finishing our presentation. Thank you.